Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We keep it rolling here. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, hour number 2. I'm Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. Just a reminder, folks, as the madness continues, make sure you check out VSiN.com. We've got an intro offer going right now. You can check it out for just $9.99 first month, VSiN.com/subscribe. You can check out those betting splits that you get the latest info from both DraftKings and Circa, all of our best bets, an update on the Circa College Hoops Challenge, if you so please. Paul Stone, our leader, at 31.5 points, 28, 16, and 1. But we're coming for you, Paul, even though I think I've run out of real estate because I'm 4.5 points back and only have a handful of games still left. A gentleman who joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line, once upon a time, won the Friday Football Invitational. I'll say, just a little bit higher stakes than what we've got going on for the college basketball side of things. $25K on the line during the football season. We get $1,000 to Barry's or Stadium Swim. But hey, a win's a win, and we'd take it. But Chris Fallica joins us right now. Of course, you could check him out, the Bear Bets podcast with our friend Will Hill, Sammy P, as well as Jeff Schwartz there, wherever you get your podcasts. Bear, we got 2 games today, but you and I were commiserating a little bit because I didn't go full on into the story, and I don't have to bore you with the details, but when Texas Tech was up by about 9, the missus told me, hey, we got to go get something from the grocery store. I'm like, all right. So I throw on the Westwood One feed. I'm listening to my guy, Ryan Radke, driving over to Albertsons, and I hear, Thomas Hawk hits a 3. I'm like, okay, down 6, no big deal. Hits another 3. I'm like, all right, now we're getting a little nervous. And I'm sitting there at the self-checkout line, and I have my phone up and the YouTube TV app going, and now I'm sweating out just a bleeping cover. And I'm getting guys behind me, hey, what's the score? I'm like, Florida came back. And you know the response because everybody and their mother, Bear, is on Florida. It's like, yes, I've got Florida in my bracket. I'm like, yeah, awesome. Congratulations. So you and I, not thrilled about the collapse from Texas Tech there yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, no. My week began with betting Justin Thomas prior to round 4 of the Valspar at plus 950. And we saw how that went, and it ended yesterday holding Texas Tech tickets at plus 550 to reach the Final Four, 31-1 to win the title, 19-1 to reach the title game, name the finalists against Houston and Duke. I'm in a massive survivor pool where I don't even know how many people there are, a lot. And I was 36th entering yesterday, and 26 of the people ahead of me had Florida. So, it was one of those where I didn't even – all they needed to do was grab one rebound. The possession where they were up 9 and the missed 3 with the long rebound that Florida got and how knocked down – you get a rebound there, it's ball game. But, it was very reminiscent of Arizona, Illinois. Just a complete improbable comeback, but Florida made some threes, and that's a program-crushing, soul-crushing defeat for Texas Tech, who played 37 great minutes, and then final 3 minutes couldn't close it out.
It's just so crazy when you think about this team was involved in the comeback on Thursday against Arkansas, the improbable and then they did in Arkansas, and they fell apart there. But Walter Clayton, I'll give him credit, man. That dude has got some you-know-what, man. That dude, he just hit big shot after big shot. So Texas Tech does get the cover, but the chalk continues. Duke blows out Alabama, as we know. Let's look ahead to today, and we'll go in chronological order. You are one, Bear, who likes to take a little bit of the contrarian side. I'm curious what your thought is on this total, because we just heard from Thomas Gable where they've actually seen some over money come in. Maybe the mindset is, this total was too low. So right now we look at like 124.5. Anything you look at on the total of Tennessee and Houston, where I joked yesterday, Alabama and Duke had a total of 175.5. Houston, Tennessee's 124.5, and it's the same sport, ladies and gentlemen, and a 51-point difference between Alabama, Duke, and Houston, Tennessee.
I would probably look towards, and not just necessarily for being contrarian, but it's kind of the same mindset. Like anybody with a functioning brain knew Alabama wasn't going to shoot 24 or 50, whatever they were from three-point range in the Sweet 16 game against Duke. I didn't even watch the game. I was so crushed after the Texas Tech game, but you knew Alabama was going to go like 8 of 25 or whatever, and that's kind of what they did. But the way Houston shot the ball on Friday night, especially in the first half, just missing a bunch of looks. Cryer was over for a long time. I would look towards playing the over here because I think just the regression to the mean in a positive way would put Houston to making some of these shots. And I mean, that's a low. Are we really going to get a game in the in the mid-50s? I don't know. You're going to get a lot of fouls. Potentially if the game's in the foul zone. So I would look towards playing the over there.
Yeah, and we've seen that a little bit towards the over. Chris Fallica, the Bear, joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Of course, the Bear Bets podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. They've been pumping them out during the NCAA tournament, even had an MLB preview as well out there in your feed, so make sure to check that out. As for the game itself, the side here in this one, you and I were texting a little bit before the tournament started. I'm a big believer in this Houston team, and look, they gave us quite the scare there in the Sweet 16 against Purdue, but a terrific play design to get the bucket, pass it back to the inbounder. What do you make of this game? Are you in agreement with the line movement here, 4.5 down to 3, or do you think Houston takes care of business in this spot?
I mean, I think Houston is better. I'm not going to play it because, again, I have a Houston ticket to reach the. I'm not going to play the game because I have a Houston ticket to reach the Final Four and win the title. So I'm kind of already committed there. I have the same thing with Auburn as well, but I feel a little bit more confident about Auburn today. But yeah, I guess if I had to play it, I would play Houston just because I expect a much better performance from them today than they did offensively Friday night. I know Tennessee will probably have a lot of fans there. They did the other night, and I would expect more Vols fans to make the trip up to Indy in that massive cavern of a dark, dull, no juice.
By the way, Bear, can
stadium.
I just jump in here? I gave you kudos yesterday. Your observation on Friday was so accurate because you watched the game in Atlanta and the juice in that arena was incredible. When Auburn goes on that 20-2 run, you're like, this is what it's about. And then you're watching it, and I forget who's on the call of CBS there in Indianapolis. I don't know if it was BA or whoever. It doesn't matter. But they're trying to play it up. Oh, the Purdue fans are coming alive. I'm like, no, they're not. Like there's no atmosphere. I mean, you're 100% right.
And that wasn't just me like making a comment. Like I have friends from Tennessee who were at the game, and I texted them. I'm like, Brett, is it as dead in there as it sounds on TV? And he goes, every bit. He's like it's almost worse. He's just like, it's just so the sight lines are terrible. It's just a big empty arena. So yeah, that wasn't just something that it didn't necessarily bleed through on TV or show on TV, that it actually was loud. It was not, and the people there certainly were in agreement that it was just as bad in person as it was watching it on air.
Chris Fallica joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line, of course, from Fox Sports. Check out his podcast, the Bear Bets podcast. All right, let's get to the nightcap. You've got Tom Izzo, and John Rothstein will let us know, the third month of the year is Izzo. But, look, Auburn, they've been kind of sleepy, right? 3 out of 4 losses heading into the tournament. Sleptwalk through the first round against Alabama State. Down by 9 against Michigan. But it felt like the beast was awoken a little bit there, in my opinion, when they went on that 20-2 run. And for this Michigan State team, they're a poor shooting team. They love to get to the rim. I played the under, and I'm contemplating laying the points here, which I know is like against the religion of us bettors going against Tom Izzo as a dog here in March. But I'm curious your thoughts of Michigan State and Auburn today in Atlanta.
I would, if I did not have the Auburn to win the regional ticket, I would bet all. I would lay the points here with Auburn. I mean, you look at what Broome and Cardwell and those guys on the interior can do. I mean, that's going to negatively affect the strength of the Michigan State team, which is their glass. And you saw, in some of the Ole Miss team had a ton of success on the offensive glass the other night. They just ultimately couldn't make a shot late. And wound up coming up short. But I think this is where Michigan State profiles as as a 2 seed that their run kind of ends here historically. Just doesn't score a ton of points. You get the good draw where you get the 10 seed in the second round in the Sweet 16. You get the 6 seed, so you don't play the 3 and the 7, the teams that are the higher seeded teams. And typically those teams do end here when they face the 1 seed. But hey, give this Michigan State, they are, I will say this, there is that little bit of questioning in my mind right now where it's like, okay, this is a team that Tom Izzo loves.
Yep.
They play hard. They're a team they weren't expected to be. And that's the other thing, too. Like, if you go back for the tournament, you had the note about the St. John's and Michigan State, the 38th and 39th teams, to be unranked at the start of the season and finish in the top 10 and get a 2 seed. And the previous 37, none of them made the Final Four. So this Michigan State team would indeed buck history if they do win today, coming basically from nowhere before the year to have a good regular season and wind up making the Final Four. But I do agree with you. I think that second half against Michigan the other night kind of got Auburn going. I'm rooting for Auburn. I will say that. I know I've known and worked Bruce Pearl for a long time. I like Bruce, and I sent him a good luck text before. But I will be rooting for Auburn today just to see my guy get to the Final Four.
Chris, always appreciate the insight.
Hey, one more quick play for you, being that I was a little wishy-washy on the hoops. I did play Florida State under 7.5 wins in college football. You look at there, you got Alabama, you got Florida in the non-conference, and then you got conference road games, Miami, Clemson, NC State. I don't know if this Thomas Castellanos thing is going to work out. I think Florida State was every bit as bad as they were last year. Noles under 7.5 wins.
Oh, a little football. Love it. There's the Bear.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Hey, folks, if you're ready to get in on the action, First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day, right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. Make sure you use this promo code VSiN200 to score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today. Firstbet.com. I am Tim Murray, back here at the Circus Studios here in downtown Las Vegas. Always great to catch up with the Bear, Chris Fallica. And, leave it to the Bear on March 30th, in the midst of it all, to give us a college football play. That's why he's the best. Slips in a college football play. If you missed it, Florida State under 7.5 wins. Somewhere out there, Danny Cannell and Bud Elliott are grinding their teeth in anger at the Bear for that thought process. But going under 7.5 wins there, a little Florida State win total. I got to start diving into. Early bird gets the worm, all that saying. I've been so consumed with college basketball. I need to start diving into the college football things here as we, before we know it, we'll be breaking all of those win totals down. But we got a lot of college basketball to get to. Of course, we'll continue to go through the plays of the Circa College Hoops Challenge. Do we have a chance to catch Paul Stone? Probably not, but we will try. And fortunately for me, it's not been let's be honest, not been a fruitful run in the NCAA tournament. But Paul Stone right now, 31.5 points, has a 3.5-point lead. He's got 2 plays today. JVT on his heels, and if Auburn covers today, JVT would cut the deficit down to 2 because JVT's best bet is Auburn, and Paul Stone is on Michigan State. So if Auburn covers today, Jonathan Von Tobel would cut the deficit down to 2. They have a common play in Tennessee. I am also on Auburn, Michigan State under. So if that comes home and Houston covers, I'm trying to think of a way I can get back into this thing. I don't think I can. Maybe second place, but that is where we stand. We'll get to some best bets here in just a moment. But I want to continue to talk about Auburn taking on Michigan State today. And the Bear said, he would probably look Auburn. He's got some future liability here on the Auburn Tigers, so he's not going to play it. And that's kind of an interesting time, right? I'm not going to play the Houston-Tennessee game. Why? Because I bet Houston prior to the tournament at, what was it, plus 125 to win the Midwest region. So I'm not going to hedge out. I think Houston wins today. It is the shortest spread of the day. We've seen money come in here on Tennessee. More on that here in just a moment. But this Auburn team right now, the way that they played at the end of that game, and look, me and Michigan, I'll be honest, we had a bit of a, I wouldn't say a love-hate relationship. It was more like a hate-hate relationship. I tried to go against this damn Michigan team so many times. Went against them in round one with UC San Diego, depending on what number you got. If you bet it on Selection Sunday, you were able to get into the cover window. I had Texas A&M in the second round. And then I also had Auburn in the Sweet 16. And for a while, I'm like, are you serious? Really? We're going to do this thing again? But then they woke up, and you saw what Denver Jones was capable of. Tahad Pettiford, the performance that he had in that Sweet 16 game against Michigan. And it was funny hearing Bruce Pearl play up the underdog card. Gotta love Bruce Pearl, because he said, I know we're the favorite, but they've got McDonald's All-Americans, and we only have one in Tahad Pettiford. But the mindset of this Auburn team, a team that has spent the majority of the year at number one, sluggish end of the season, as I talked about with the Bear, 3 out of 4 losses, doesn't cover against Alabama State, gets the cover against Creighton, but was trailing at the half, trailing against Michigan in the second half. But to me, this team in January maybe peaked too much, but it felt like that 20-2 run sparked something with this Auburn team. And I heard this clip, and shouts to our producer, Wando, for finding this clip, because this is a great clip, of Dylan Cardwell talking about the mentality of this Auburn team. Here is Tigers guard Dylan Cardwell.
You know, these guys got big balls, bro. So at the end of the day, you know, we got Tahad Pettiford, who's from Jersey. We got Chad, who's from, I don't know where you're from, Dominican Republic or wherever you're from. But Pre does a great job of recruiting guys who just have that mentality. They don't want to lose. You know, he always tells us that you just have to hate losing. You have to hate losing. And so these guys just hate losing, and it's just been cool to see over the past couple of months how, you know, before the Texas A&M game, we were 8-0 on the road in the SEC. These guys keep competing, and we keep competing. We end up being down 9, and we go on a however many run. It's just cool to see these guys who just buy in and just have the kind of killer mentality.
By the way, Dylan Cardwell not going to transition to guard play as a 6'11 center, but, you know, it's Sunday morning. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about Auburn is that they are a unique makeup from this standpoint where, you know, your best player and one of the best players, if not the best player in the country, John Broome, is a fifth-year senior who started his career at Morehead State. You've got Chad Baker-Mazara, who, where are you from, Dominican Republic or something? Started his career at Duquesne, went to San Diego State. Now here he is at Auburn. You've got Denver Jones, who started his career at FIU. It's a unique mismatch of players from lower major programs. Miles Kelly, he's from Georgia Tech. Pettiford, of course, is a 5-star, and he has been playing at the level of that. And then you got a Michigan State team that Tom Izzo continues to talk about how much he loves this team. And this is a team that not many expected to win the Big Ten this year. I think most folks had them, 5th or 6th, somewhere in that from a preseason standpoint. They won it. They won it outright, 17-3. And here they are in the Elite Eight. Ole Miss gave them a run for their money. By the way, Ole Miss, not a bad beat. And Michigan State continues to find ways, trailing at the half to New Mexico. Comeback win, got the cover there, much to some of our chagrins. But my worry about Michigan State in this game, as they are a tremendous cover team, and it is Tom Izzo, and it is March, my worry is what we saw from St. John's. This is a bad three-point shooting team. And this is a team that I just don't know from a height standpoint if they're going to be able to do what they love to do, which is crash the offensive glass. Now, they're not full-on Texas A&M, clank it off the grim and go get it. They've got some ballers, there's no doubt. Look, the beauty of this team, Michigan State, this year is their depth, is their ability to continue to go deep. You look at their bench minutes, 40% of their minutes come from the bench, 20th in the nation. They'll go 9-10 deep. They don't care. They'll find different pieces to step up. And there's something about this team that is really impressive from Tom Izzo's standpoint. You could see Tom Izzo, how much fun he's having, especially in this day and age in the portal era where you've seen some of the older guard retire, whether it be Coach K, whether it be Deputy Dog Roy, whether it be Jay Wright, Tony Bennett. And he's embracing this squad. That said, are they going to be able to hang with an Auburn with the firepower that they've got? What we saw, that spurt that we saw in the second half, was Auburn, January Auburn. This was the team that we saw blowing teams out earlier in the year. This was the team that beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa 94-85. And I have concerns. Look, I played the game under, and that's my one play on this game. But I have concerns about Michigan State and their ability to score for all 40 minutes against Auburn. And I think Auburn offensively seemed to find something in that second half. And John Broome, man, he was awesome. He looked like the National Player of the Year, John Broome, that we were seeing earlier in the season. We'll get more on this game with Tyler Shoemaker, Wes Reynolds, Matt Humans will all join us in the program. Just a reminder, folks, you can take VSiN with you anywhere, anytime. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today and stay connected to the action wherever you go with the VSiN Watch app. It's available on your phone, tablet, and smartphone with the VSiN Watch app. You get 24/7 live access to our audio and video streams, replays of your favorite shows, so you don't ever have to miss a moment. Big screen streaming. Yeah, you can stream it right to from your smartphone, and quick access to clips by sports. So watch VSiN anywhere. Download the VSiN Watch app today in the Google Play Store, Apple App Store. 2 games today in the Elite Eight for the men, 2 games today in the Elite Eight for the women. No one better to help us break down both of them than Tyler Shoemaker. The T-Shoe Index, he joins us next right here on VSiN.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. I tell you what, man, I'm fired up for today. We've got 2 Elite Eight games on the men's side, 2 Elite games on the women's side, 2 more tomorrow on the women's side of things as well. And this is when, on the women's side, the cream rises to the top. We've got the champ from last year, South Carolina. We've got the champ from 2023 in LSU, 1 seed UCLA. Tomorrow, we get Paige Beckers fresh off of her 40-point performance. It stinks that we don't get Juju Watkins. God, that would have been a great game in the Elite Eight on the women's side, UConn and USC. Unfortunately for Juju Watkins, she is sidelined for the year with that torn ACL. But we got 2 men's games today, 2 women's games, and then 2 more tomorrow. And there's no one better to help us break down both sides of things than our guy Tyler Shoemaker, who joins us right now, courtesy of our Progressive Guest Line. Follow him on Twitter at TShoeIndex. My man's got bunnies. He could still throw it down, unlike me. I don't post videos for a reason, Tyler, because my bunnies ain't hopping anymore, man. I'm old, I'm washed up, and I guess you could argue I was washed up many, many years ago. But I digress. Let's get into the games today. We'll start on the men's side of things, and we'll go in chronological order. Tennessee and Houston, we're starting to see money come in on the over. Total now to 125.5 at DraftKings. We'll call it a consensus 125. Houston laying 3. So what did your numbers come out for Tennessee and Houston this afternoon at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Yeah, I've got Houston by about 3.5, which is pretty much in line with the market. It's been anywhere from 4.5 to 2.5 on this game. So kind of right in line with the market there. The one real big disagreement I have here is on the total. I made this total 122. So you mentioned the Lions going up. I actually am on the under in this game. I grabbed it at 124.5. So I would like it at anything that or better. But I'm on the under in this game.
Tyler, someone like yourself who makes numbers, you got the T-Shoe Index. What do you do with arenas? Normally right now, Sweet 16, you're in a basketball arena. This is a unique situation where it's played at Lucas Oil Stadium. We saw both games go under at Lucas Oil Stadium. Tennessee, Kentucky went under, and then also Houston and Purdue. Thank goodness we didn't get overtime, because that would not have been ideal for us under bettors. But do you do anything to adjust your numbers with this game being played at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Tim, that's a good question. And that's one of those things, I talk about this a lot, where there are things that you certainly have to account for in your analysis of a game, but there are also things you can't really quantify. So this kind of falls into that bucket where I don't adjust my number, but it does affect my analysis of the game. So the fact that my number came out on the under, and then you mentioned that factor, that's like, okay, now I'm definitely going to play the under, because it aligns. Kind of the non-quantifiable stuff and the numbers align. That's definitely a bet for me.
All right, Tyler Shoemaker joining us here. So likes the under. Let's see if it keeps going up. It's interesting to look at our betting splits over at vsin.com. And I understand people want to bet overs, and especially when a total is this low. 85% of bets. That is surprising to me on the over right now at DraftKings. Tyler, though, disagrees and says maybe wait. 125.5 just popped to look under. All right, let's go to Izzo versus Bruce Pearl. This is going to be a fun one. Michigan State and Auburn. Auburn, the consensus #1 all year long. A little bit of sluggish times here heading into this point. Right now, the market sits at 4.5, 5. Let's start with the side here, Tyler. What do your numbers come out for Auburn and Michigan State?
So this game was really interesting in terms of the process of how I arrived at my projection, which is Auburn -1.5. Because this is kind of a real dichotomy here of, and this is anyone that makes projections or numbers, I'm sure, struggles with this. And that's when you're this late in the season, do you look at a team's total body of work, or, how much do you weigh their recent performance? And this is like the perfect case study, because the season long numbers would have Auburn by 8. In my numbers, but when you kind of bring in the last 10 games, that really favors Michigan State and how they close the season. So I landed on Auburn -1.5. So I'm on Sparty here +5.5. But it is really interesting to see the difference in the rating from the season long versus weighing the recent games more heavily.
Yeah, no, that's such a interesting dynamic, and there's so many great sites out there, whether it be Bart Torvik, Ken Palm, etc. And I love using the function of Bart Torvik where you can shrink the time frame, right? And when you look at heading in, I think the last 6 weeks, it was BYU as the 4th best team in the country, and that wouldn't, equate. So maybe it could have led to some bets for you against VCU, against Wisconsin. Obviously, they bowed out against Alabama. So let's look at the total here. I bet this game under for our contest. I believe the number was 148.5. So took under there in this one. I love this defense for Auburn. Curious how Michigan State plays offensively in this spot. What did your numbers come out from a total standpoint in Michigan State Auburn?
Yeah, 149.5. So
okay.
not too much value here. I guess it would be a slight lean to the over, but I think the market agrees with you. It's going down. When you look at these teams' last 5 games, I think that would favor an under. So I think, gun to my head, if I had to play it, I would play an under, just because my number is so tight with the market on that. I think under probably is the play here. But technically, I'm slightly into the over based on the numbers.
At T-Shoe Index is where you can find him on social media, and this man knows women's college hoops, and this is the time for Tyler to shine. And, I know a lot of handicappers like to, especially college basketball, you thrive earlier in the year when the market's a little softer. So now the eyeballs are focused on women's basketball. Elite Eight today, Elite Eight tomorrow, star power. You've got South Carolina, the defending champ. You've got this LSU-UCLA game. Let's start with Duke and South Carolina. We were talking briefly off air about this spot. South Carolina against Maryland. One didn't cover, a little bit sluggish, trailed at the half. Is this when big bad South Carolina wakes up a little bit? Market would say so, as we're up to 9.5 at some spots.
Yeah, I mean, I make the game 8, but this is not a spot where I would want to go against Don Staley's team after they had such a stale performance by their standards against Maryland, where they almost lost and, frankly, definitely could have late in that game. They got some late foul calls and that sort of thing to kind of get them over the top. But one thing that I really liked with this game is the under. I project 127, and Tim, I have been dying for weeks, if not months, to bet a Duke under, and my numbers kept coming out to the over, so I couldn't do it. I finally projected Duke under, so I am on the under here. I would play it down to 127 and a half.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just point this out. Your eyes are not deceiving you. The Duke men put up 100 right in the Sweet 16. Their women won 47-38 over UNC. So, yes, that was not the halftime score, even though I believe, wasn't that the halftime score last night? I think it was the halftime score last night at Duke, Alabama. So, yes, under for Tyler and Duke, South Carolina. UCLA and LSU. Look, LSU, they dealt with injuries a lot this year. Obviously, they won the title 2 years ago. They're going up against the 1 seed in UCLA. I'm fascinated by this game. You're catching points with UCLA. What do your numbers come out for UCLA and LSU later today?
Yeah, I've got UCLA -3. So I'm on LSU +5 here. And I project the total right at the market. I'm at 145. I think the market's around 145 and a half. So no strong play on the total, but I do like LSU here. There was some kind of a little bit of trash talk going on here too. So I like LSU's experience in this spot. I like Kim Mulkey's kind of fire and attitude in this spot. So I think they'll come in with a chip on their shoulder, and I like LSU plus the points.
All right, let's get to tomorrow. Tyler Shoemaker joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. First and foremost, what did you do to the USC power rating when Juju went down? They were able to win yesterday against Kansas State. They're an enormous underdog. Just before we get to UConn USC, how much adjustment did you do with the Juju Watkins injury?
Yeah, I subtracted about 5 points from their rating, which the crazy thing was my projection with her in the game against Kansas State would have been USC minus about 5.5. They ended up winning by 6. So, maybe the adjustment wasn't necessary, but so I was on Kansas State yesterday. Unfortunately, they didn't get the cover. But in this game, let's see. Sorry.
Yeah, right now.
In this game, I've got UConn minus 12.5.
Okay.
With a total of 138.
I mean, right now, as we look at it, are we destined? I mean, I guess take a step back for those who have not been following women's hoops as closely as you all year. This UConn team is a 2 seed, so that's surprising because you're not used to seeing anything but a 1 next to a UConn squad. Has this team kind of gotten into the proper form? And I know Juju's out, but you still would have had them as a pretty significant favorite, even if Juju Watkins was playing in this game, right?
Yeah, and I'm still not at market. I think the line last time I checked was 13.5, so yeah. I'm still not even quite that high. Which I wouldn't want to bet against UConn right now. They're kind of rolling. Paige obviously is rolling. She dropped 40 yesterday, so I don't think I would want to get in the way of that. I would lean to an under. They play both teams play pretty good defense, so I would maybe lean to an under in this game.
All right, Tyler, before we get out of here, Texas and TCU also tomorrow, 131.5, 7.5. Haley Van Lith does it again, third Elite Eight with a third different program. Pretty impressive. Final 30 seconds. Anything for you on TCU Texas tomorrow night?
The Texas offense really struggles. If it's not Madison Booker scoring, they really struggle. So I would like an under here, especially with it being their second game of the weekend. I think I would take an under in both women's games tomorrow.
Follow him on social media at TShoe Index. The man's got hops. Check out his dunks as well. Tyler, appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Tim.
There he is, Tyler Shoemaker. You can also check out, by the way, all our insight over at VSiN.com, courtesy of those betting splits, and you can check those out for as little as $9.99, VSIN.com/subscribe. Let's keep it rolling. Wes Reynolds, he'll join us next to break down today's Elite Eight games.
Tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Yes, indeed, it is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line every Saturday and Sunday. Join me, Tim Murray, live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. An elite day ahead of us as we've got 2 games on the men's side. Thanks to Tyler Shoemaker, by the way, for giving us his insight on the women's side of things. And he is very excited to be able to play the under in Duke and South Carolina. I think some 128.5s are out there. Tyler, I'm following you, my brother. I just played that one, so I am in on South Carolina Duke under 128.5. The Circa College Hoops Challenge continues to roll along as we are all chasing Paul Stone, who surprisingly took an L yesterday on his best bet. Right now, Paul Stone in first place with 31.5 points. JVT, 3.5 points back at 25-18-2. And a good day for me, thankfully. Finally, we were able to have a decent day. Wes Reynolds joins us right now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. He and many of us were on Duke minus the 7 yesterday. I want to get your thoughts real quickly on Duke and what we saw from them yesterday. And I know it's easy to say it was just shooting regression, and I think there's a little bit of that. But boy, what I was able to take away, and I think a lot of us recognize this, was the length that Duke has out there on the perimeter. And Malawak, I mean, to be 7'2" and to move like he does, it doesn't seem humanly possible. So what was your kind of overall takeaway from Duke's 20-point win yesterday, Wes? You and I both had the Blue Devils, and now here at Circa, they're a minus 105 favorite to cut down the nets in San Antonio.
Yeah, Tim, and they absolutely should be. Thanks for having me this morning. And yeah, I was on the Blue Devils yesterday, and I just thought it was going to be the shooting regression when you have a team that makes 25 threes. You can only go down from there. And Mark Sears even made the comment after the game, 8 of 32 from the three for Alabama. Duke really took it away. And I thought what Duke did offensively, before I get to the defense, they went at Sears. Mm-hmm. And what do you do, to kind of defend a guy's offense is you make him play defense. It takes a lot more energy to play defense, and they went at Sears in that pick and roll pretty much all day yesterday. And you mentioned Malawach, who kind of is the forgotten man. Of course, Cooper Flagg's going to be the number 1 pick. Knuppel probably going to be in the lottery. Well, so might Malawach. So you got to give Duke credit and Shire credit, finally getting to the Final Four here. But they do have the best talent in America. And they have 3, at least bare minimum, first-round draft picks. And that's what they're able to do, and that's what Duke's going to continue to do, is recycle these one-and-dones and get the most talent out of the prep ranks. And I thought their size really did bother Alabama, not only Malawach, but Ngongba. Now he was limited with foul troubles, and also Cooper Flagg, so you get mismatches in that backcourt when you have James and when you have Knuppel at 6'7" and Proctor at 6'6" and Foster at 6'5". These are bigger guards. And I thought Alabama just had a lot of real problems with that. Eventually got on the under yesterday. When it goes up like 13 points from the opener, it's like, don't you got to take a stand somewhere, Tim? It's like, okay, I'll get burned and it'll be 100-92 or something, but I was willing to take that risk. Yeah. So fortunately, it paid off.
Yeah, I was kicking myself a little bit because Matt and I were on the air on Thursday night watching Alabama and BYU just soar over the highest total in an NCAA tournament game since 1995. And then last night we got the same total, and it was a dead under game. So good job by you to roll with that under. But yeah, impressive performance, needless to say, by the Duke Blue Devils. They covered the 7 as the year of the chalk continues. Texas Tech, of course, much to my chagrin, they get to the window from a cover standpoint, but don't pull the outright upset. Let's look ahead to today, and you've got a couple plays on your contest card. So let's go in chronological order. And this was, I anticipated this to be the most popular play. So a little game theory for me, I left Tennessee plus 4.5 off. We were getting a good number in our contest. Market now sits at 3. What do you make of this spot in your old backyard there, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Tennessee, and Houston, Wes?
Yeah, I did take Tennessee, and this is, the Spider-Man meme that we see on the social with two teams pointing at each other, that they're the same team, and they kind of in some ways are with basically what they do and how they approach things defensively. Now down at 3, that's probably the right number. I took the good with Tennessee here. Starting to get a little over money, I think, here. This opened, I believe, 123.5 and starting to see as high as 125.5, and I even see a 126 at a faraway place. And I could see that because I think we all anticipate, okay, there's going to be a rock fight like Houston and Purdue was on Friday night, where I thought Purdue played well. Like every time Houston would get a lead, Purdue was able to make a run, and then that great baseline out of bounds play that they ran using in the back door. So a lot of people are getting on Braden Smith for that, but it was like, what was he going to do? He had to take LJ Cryer. So they're both high hedge and switch defenses. They're similar teams. I think Houston probably talent for talent might be a little bit better, and they were coming in the best three-point shooting team in the country at just under 40%. So if they're making their threes, Tennessee can be in real trouble. But Chaz Lanier eventually has got to shoot the ball better, doesn't he? He hasn't really shot the ball well all tournament. And Tennessee, by the way, was 5-19 from the three against Kentucky. As much as they got margin on the Wildcats, Kentucky just couldn't do anything at the rim. Whereas Houston, even though they're not very big, you have guys like Tugler down there. You have J'Wan Roberts down there who are big and burly and going to be very tough to score on at the rim. So I thought getting 4.5, actually getting almost two possessions here, essentially, in a game that might have lower possessions. You could get over, I think, late with the fouling, so that's why I didn't touch the total. But I think Rick Barnes finally gets back to the Final Four. It's been a long time. It's been since 2003 since Rick Barnes was in the Final Four down there at Texas when he had TJ Ford running the point. But I think he gets back here. Two really good teams. I'm actually really excited to kind of watch this chess match between them. Kelvin Sampson, I believe, when he and Rick Barnes were in the same conference together, I think Sampson got the better of him in the series 12-8, but a pretty even matchup, and I think the line indicates that.
Wes Reynolds joining us here, courtesy of our Progressive guest line. Wes and 15 of others are part of our Circa College Hoops Challenge. Wes right now making a roaring comeback right now at 23-22.
If I could hit a best bet, for God's sake,
I know.
Man, I just... that's randomness. I'm picking the wrong one. I was surprised our buddy Paul Stone finally lost a best bet. It was like
he's human.
Shattering.
It's like when Drago started to bleed, in Rocky IV. You're like, hey, he can be, he is a human there. So, Paul Stone is where all have been trying to catch Paul. Did have Alabama last night as his best bet. So for the first time in this competition, he had a loser on a best bet. All right, let's get to Auburn and Michigan State. And by the way, if you're looking over at the website, 8 folks were on Tennessee plus 4.5, and I fully anticipated that. So once again, that's why ultimately I stayed off. When you look at this game here today, we've got 3 folks on Auburn: JVT, Ken Thompson, and Jim Root, and then you and Matt Humans, Paul Stone and Matt Humans took the points here with Michigan State. You and I, easy for me to say, Wes, on the under in this game. So what do you make of Michigan State and Auburn today in Atlanta?
It's going to be tough for Michigan State to make threes here. They're at right at 30% from the three all season. Auburn, very good defending out there, and also good at defending down low. This is a deep team, and that's what Bruce Pearl does because he provides pressure in the backcourt. So you got to play a lot of guys because eventually at least 1 or 2 of them are going to get in foul trouble. So Michigan State also, they've had really good fortune defending the three this year. I think their opponent's shooting like 28% on the season. So I feel like maybe some shooting regression is coming. I didn't really know what to do with the side, Tim. I thought 5. That's actually what my number made it. So I didn't deviate much from that. So I did go under here because I could see this being a game that stays within 1 or 2 possessions basically the whole time. Then all of a sudden it's like, we've got a chance to go to a Final Four here. And you see those games sometimes die if there's no margin. Now, if there's margin, that's what you worry about with the total. When if it's like 7-9, then that brings the foul fest into play. But I think we're getting a game in the high 60s, low 70s here between these two.
Yeah, that would be lovely for me. Before I let you run, Wes, of course, handicaps every golf tournament out there, and right now you've got the leader in pocket, Min-Woo Lee, who goes into today at 17 under, 4 clear of the field. About 30 seconds, Wes. What would you do here if folks backed you with Min-Woo Lee?
Yeah, he's got a 4-shot lead over Alejandro Tosti, and then there's that Scotty Scheffler guy, that number 1 player in the world that didn't really do much yesterday. Couldn't make anything, and shot a home 1 under round, but he's still 5 back. He could still win here. So if you want to be maybe the more conservative hedge here, is if you have a yes-no option like at Circa, and I think a couple other books have this, is to bet the no at close to about $2 on Min-Woo Lee. I think it's like 180, 190 right now. That would be the way I would go to at least lock in some profit here. here, but I think Min Woo is finally going to get this home. He was in the mix at the Players' Championship when he was the leader, couldn't get it home. Still looking for that first PGA Tour win. I think he gets it today in H-Town.
He's Wes Reynolds at Wes Reynolds 1, and hopefully he can bring us home another outright in the golfing world. Wes, appreciate it, man. Best of luck with your bets today.
You bet, Tim. Thanks for having me.
And as always, check out Wes's entire catalog of plays over at vsin.com/picks. Guess what? We still got an hour more to go. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.